We're doing a review on Infinity War. I'm just kidding. Endgame.
Avengers Endgame, yes.
You saw it yesterday?
Yes, which was a Saturday of the weekend that it came out.
Opening weekend.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about Avengers Endgame, our thoughts about it. And basically the way we're going to do this review is going to be the beginning part is going to be no spoilers. And then the second part we're going to move on to talking about the movie more in depth, what we thought, and obviously including spoilers in it. I'll put a title or something on the screen that tells you guys when the spoilers are coming up.
And if you haven't seen this movie already, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, maybe you are waiting for a review before seeing the movie.
For me, it's just sad. For me, it's just sad because it's the end. It literally is the end. While I was watching it, all I felt was like, no. Like, I'm not going to be able to watch another Avengers ever again. Like, there's not going to be another one. I mean, you never know. Who knows? Maybe they'll make, like, a different universe Avengers later on. That happens all the time. But, for me, it was just really sad. I didn't want it to end, literally.
Yeah, well, what was crazy is that this is obviously the longest Avengers. Yeah. 3 hours long, 3 hours and 2 minutes. The movie doesn't feel...
It does not feel long at all. Again, like, the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, this is 3 hours.
At the beginning of the movie, it's... I guess you could say it's a little bit slow in regards to the pacing.
I thought the beginning was a little slow too. But I think it was just more like, kind of like a recap. A lot of people usually in TV shows, they skip the first recap because we already know. For me, I felt that way. Like, I didn't need the intro as much.
To me, it was more like, it did feel a bit slow, but at the same time, I wasn't necessarily mad at it because even though it was a recap, it has been a year since the last Avengers movie. And the only other movie we got was Captain Marvel, which is completely off from what was happening in this timeline. I feel like it was just building up the drama and the tension and trying to get the viewers to really feel sadness, I guess, or the impact.
The seriousness of the whole situation.
The seriousness of the situation. Yeah, exactly. But after that, the pacing of the movie just takes off and it doesn't ever really stop.
Yeah.
The sounds, the music, the score of the music is also very good. I mean, it's a classic. It never gets old. The acting of everyone is, as always, amazing. For some reason, I feel like in this movie, though, compared to all the other ones, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, their acting was even better though than in the other movies.
And you can tell that they put in all their effort to be the best version of themselves in this movie, to be the best like superhero. For sure. Felt like they were paying homage to everything, and from the comics and from the previous movies.
It's almost like, I guess you could say, it felt like they knew it was also the last movie.
Yeah, and exactly, and they wanted it to be the best.
Again, going back to those two, though, to me, Robert Downey Jr. and
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. I keep thinking Chris Pratt. But their acting is so good.
Josh Brolin.
I mean, I feel like that was one of the best villains I remember in a long time for a movie. Like,
and actually, like, actual villain, because you see villains like Loki. Loki is a fun villain. He's the kind of villain that you still root for. Thanos is
I mean, the dude is evil.
Yeah.
Like, he's bad.
Bad.
And he's not this, like,
and he
cheesy...
has no remorse, nothing. Yeah. And so that's the excitement of the whole.
Many times where in the movie you still get crazy rush of, oh my god, what's going to happen? Like, is this going to work out? Or so many ways the movie could have done.
Yeah.
And that being said, I think there's a rewatch value in the movie just because there are times that can get a little bit confusing.
Definitely rewatch it.
That's actually something very cool about the movie, is there are so many details sprinkled. They don't necessarily add anything to it, but if you're a Marvel fan, it's super cool to see this like homages. Anyway, for this plural version of homage, it's just very cool to see it as a Marvel fan. Also, going off of that, the VFX of the movie. I mean, they're also
VFX, visual effects. Saying because he's using fancy terminology.
Yeah, and the effects of the movie,
which is the whole movie.
Yeah, obviously, like a lot of green screens and all that, and CGI. But
it's so well done.
Josh Brolin as Thanos. Obviously, in Infinity War, he was really good. Yeah. But on this one, I feel like they even took it somehow. Yeah. They took it even a step up.
Yeah.
It also makes me curious about Disney, their streaming service, once they come out with the shows, how they're able to keep that value, because they say they're going to keep the value. They're going to keep the same characters for the shows. So, but anyway, I digress. Going back to the movie itself.
I think
the
costumes.
studios,
We could talk a little bit about costumes.
the costumes are insane. The quality. Other superhero movies, for example, even DC Comics, which I like. I love DC Comics as well.
Comics.
But
comics.
And then, like in the close-up, certain things they feel a little bit costumey. Not necessarily cheap, but they just don't sell the idea that this costume will be able to take so much, stress of movement and hitting and jumping and flying and all that stuff. But in Avengers, I mean, there are several times where they definitely do a close-up on the costumes to be like
just to show off.
Just to show off, like check out how cool this costume is.
Yeah.
And you look at the seams of the costumes and everything. It looks like it could legit be a part. Like for example, the Avengers suits that everyone is wearing is not necessarily a spoiler because it shows in the trailer.
Yeah, in the trailer, the white ones.
The white ones, with the A. Mm-hmm. That costume, they have several shots where they do the close-ups, especially in the shoes. Usually, that's where you can tell that it's.
Yes, that's usually where you can tell that it's not high quality.
Yes. Where he gives it away just because it's very hard to connect soft tissues with the hard rubber of boots or wood or whatever the shoes the characters are wearing. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like if NASA was wearing that for space, I would believe that is actually usable.
It's the kind of suit that Elon Musk would create for regular people. That's the kind of suit it is, and people would buy it. I'd buy it.
That obviously extends to all the costumes for superheroes. Watching it the first time, especially if you don't necessarily are like super into Marvel or have seen the movies, all the other movies recently, it might be at certain points a bit hard to keep track of it. The other thing about the movie though is as the last MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least this group and timeline. Personally, I wouldn't change anything about they cut it, how they ended, and at the same time, they also leave it open just enough for us. Obviously, we know they're going to continue the Marvel Cinematic Universe with probably eventually adding mutants, just enough so that if you saw all these movies, it's gonna work great, but it leaves the door open very well for whatever they add next to be able to flow easily. So that's what we have for the review part of the general ideas of the movie. Definitely watch it on the movie theater.
Would you say it's worth IMAX?
Yeah, actually I would like to watch it in IMAX. It might be a bit overwhelming though. If you see it for the first time in IMAX, I feel like it might be even harder to keep track of what's happening. So maybe next time, maybe for the second time we can watch it in the IMAX. That might be fun.
Definitely will.
So now we're going to move on to the review part.
Spoilers!
Yeah, exactly. And okay.
What is the most memorable part for you right now? Right now, at the top of your head.
When I think about that, I keep thinking of anything with Captain America. Not necessarily. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that part's hilarious. As a comic book reader, and the idea of Captain America as he is as a character, is just represented so well. This character of not necessarily having these crazy skills or these crazy powers.
He's capable of anything. But
he's still so cool though. Yeah. I mean, like at the part where they're about to go into time travel, and he's like saying all the cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And then Ant-Man is like, damn, he's good at that. And Rocket Raccoon is like, right? that part is hilarious. Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah, it's
actually one of the not necessarily negative parts of the movie, but it's Captain Marvel.
What about Captain Marvel? The movie? What about it?
Like,
I'm curious.
I feel like they implement her into the MCU for the future projects they're gonna have with expanding the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the way. Oh my god, and I just realized. Well, that makes a lot of sense too, because the idea of Captain Marvel is that she's like the Captain America of Earth, but in space.
Yeah.
So, and I always wonder, like, well, how can they do that? Because you have Captain America. The way they close off these movies, they close off Captain America as well. Yeah. And now the new Captain America you have, he's a human, so there's no way in hell he's going to be able to keep up to that level.
No.
So that being said, it makes sense why they put... Captain Marvel,
I think that goes along with, like, Captain America. I mean, Chris Evans' Captain America is super strong, obviously, and he's genetically modified. But I don't think when it comes to Captain America, it's not necessarily about that. It's about the image that he represents. And if anyone's going to represent it pretty well, it's going to be Falcon, 100%. Because it's about the integrity that Captain America gives
also
off.
It happens in the comics,
and it
so
in the comics too,
that's also why he
but the point is, he gonna be a good Captain America, and that's why he gave it to
I
him.
was actually
not
hoping,
necessarily about the strength thing.
I was actually hoping he would give it to Bucky, the
I
Captain
thought so,
America,
too.
because Bucky is able to keep up with the same style.
But I think I understand why you would want to give it to Bucky, but I see why they wouldn't give it to Bucky. From my standpoint, from my view, is that he doesn't get it because at the end of the day, Bucky does have a bad reputation, and a lot of people don't let go of that kind of stuff. That's why I can't see Bucky ever being Captain America, just because it goes back to the image.
We went way off on Captain America.
There's so many finals. That's the problem too.
There's so many epic
but it's great.
scenes in the movie. Robert Downey Jr. or Iron Man, Tony Stark, meeting his dad back in the 70s, right before he was born. Obviously, you have the last appearance from Stan Lee in the movie, which is amazing as well.
Very brief.
It's actually super brief. It almost caught me like, when it happened, I was like, oh wait, that was Stan Lee.
Yeah, like I recognized him right away, and I looked at him, and I could tell he was like kind of
because they also make him younger, right? Steve Rogers being able to finally go back to his girl, have that dance that he always asked for.
Yeah.
Thanos in the first Avengers Infinity War, he was always a badass and everything, and we see him fight in the first one, but we never really got that feeling of why is Thanos so powerful without the Infinity Stones.
That's true.
And in here, we get to see him in this final fight fighting everyone. Without any
and he's still
Infinity
just
Stones.
as confident, which is why I was confused.
He's not only confident, but I think that gives him so much character. He's not just a bad guy that's like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to be bad and whatnot. He knows that what he has to do is right, and what he has to do is the thing that needs to be done, and he just really believes in that, and he goes with it. But what I really like is we see why he's Thanos, why he's so strong. We always saw him commanding these armies, seeing Thanos fight with that double-sided sword thing against the main Avengers, against Thor, Iron Man, Cap. The fact that he can fight those three by himself, just with his armor and his sword, I thought it was so sick. That fight itself leads perfectly onto obviously probably one of the craziest things in the movie is Captain America wielding Thor's original hammer. Yeah, not Stormbreaker. That part was
pretty cool.
So cool. It's so well done too, showing like how he's worthy now and how he's capable of wielding this hammer. How you have such a big fight with so many characters and he's still
everyone gets their individual time.
Right, which obviously also leads to the part in the movie that to me felt a little bit forced, and that is when all the girls during the fight randomly appear together in screen and
we
have their badass moment.
About
it's a very cool scene, but it's just the way they come up all of a sudden into the shot, just very randomly though. Like it didn't feel organic how they came there, because everyone is scattered, it's showing everyone is fighting it all over places, and then boom, all of a sudden female characters. It's super cool seeing how not only are they fighting, but how they're working together to get this gauntlet to the time machine thing they were trying to get it. But that was the one time in the whole movie that I was taken a bit out of the magic and being like, oh wait, they're doing this right now.
I thought it was a bit forced. I think especially because it was for Captain Marvel. We talked about that earlier because they were trying to help Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is such an OP character.
Oh, that's a good point too.
Does she really need the support of all of these team members? I mean, she is really overpowered, and that's fine. I think that's great. That's part of her character.
They show it here too.
And they show it here too.
Thanos shooting, and
she just goes through it like no big deal. And I think, and then even when he like hits her, and she just doesn't move. But that's why like she's so overpowered. She didn't really need it, and I think that scene could have been done instead of like trying to help her, protect her, if they had protected a different character. So like I mentioned, like if it had been a male character that needed the assistance and then they come out, I think that would have been very fun, because it's like we have all these badass women that are here to help you, and I think that it makes more sense, like plot wise as well.
Yeah, like it just what you say is, I like that idea, and it would have been just like a more organic way of implementing this scene.
Yeah.
I really appreciate also how they have in Thanos' armies, they actually added more characters onto his army. Before I didn't necessarily like that you only had basically 3 types of characters, or 4 I guess. The floating things, you had the dudes from Avengers 1, humanoid things that just shoot, and then the dog-looking
looking things from like the last
which
one.
Actually the dog-looking guys, in theory there's 2 options, the regular ones and then like some bigger option of it. But I really like those like ape things that they showed. Like some tank thingies flying in the background as well at some point. To me, it's just like really a masterpiece of not looking at it from a movie critic eye type of thing, but just like as a superhero, yeah, like comic book fan.
Yep. Come on, DC. Come on. It's just the whole time I was happy. I mean, I was sad, but I was also very, very happy. Like there wasn't a moment where I wasn't smiling because I was enjoying it the whole entire time. I am okay with Black Widow dying. I think that it was a good choice just because she doesn't have anyone. But she doesn't have any, like, actual personal links like everyone else does. And then I think that because of that, obviously Gamora is there. And it worries me. Gamora's not going to be in love with Quill anymore. Like, and then you realize that Nebula does know everything. And Nebula is kind of a part of their team at this moment. And it made me think, like, for a split second, what if Nebula falls in love with Quill? And what if that changes that timeline and it gets weird? I don't know.
I feel like to me she was very comical as a character though throughout the whole movie. Like her bad guy look or style is so forced trying to be a bad guy, and I'm pretty sure they do it that way.
Just to please Thanos too.
Right, that it just comes across as comical. Mm-hmm. Even her voice of always being like very grasping. Yeah, I don't know. With Gamora coming back, that's cool. The Guardians obviously being together again, which makes sense with James Gunn doing the next movie.
It's true.
But then they now have Thor.
That part was hilarious too.
So.
And I also enjoyed that Thor had his fat suit on the whole entire movie. In other movies, you see like they come out and they're like overweight and whatnot, and then they get back in and then they're like have a six-pack again. It's like that makes no sense, even for a god. Honestly, I thought that it was really fun that he still continued on in that state throughout the whole movie. I didn't enjoy that. And we talked about this a little bit, but like that Thor, I feel has become more comical. As a character, and I don't necessarily enjoy it that much, but I feel like in this one they kind of pushed it over the limit. And I know that people are saying that, oh, he's just having a breakdown, and obviously because he's having a lot of trauma because of all of the things that he's lost, and that makes sense. But for me, it sucks to see that this is the last movie. He's just comical because he's going through all this trauma, and I didn't enjoy it because I didn't want it to end that way for him. So that's why I didn't think I liked that part that much.
But it didn't end for him, though.
No, I know. Obviously, he's going to continue on, and that's why I am looking forward to see how he works with Guardians of the Galaxy, exactly.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good, and a good evolution of the character, going from your more regular, serious, god-like Thor onto a more comical, human, relatable type of character. Especially when kind of comical characters, for example, even Iron Man, he tends to have a lot of funny one-liners, good one-liners. Throughout this whole movie, he's very serious. So that's why I thought it was good how they implemented the funny part of it.
Because it's ending. I am so happy that I got to experience all these movies. I think I saw most of them in theaters ever since they came out. For me, Iron Man has always been a big thing that I really enjoyed. And so seeing him end up, again, from the beginning and being at the end, I thought it was great. And I think it's a good ending because when Pepper Potts says, "We're gonna be okay, you can rest now," man, oh man, I was like, yes, we're gonna be okay. I think when she said that, I know it sounds dumb, but I think she meant it not just for them, but for us. Talk about cheesy.
I think for closing up this part of the cinematic universe, it's perfect. I wouldn't change anything. It's kind of the same approach to me as Star Wars. If you look at it from a very critical point of view, or as a fan trying to see what you would have liked as a person to see, you can always find things to nitpick and things to dislike about the movie, but if you see it for what it is, this is what came out, this is the final movie. I think just the way they did it is excellent.
You can appreciate it.
Soundtrack itself with the effects, the surround sounds, the way they have them throughout the movie to create tension, to create more relaxing environments, to create more comical parts. The pacing of the movie, overall, I think is great. The timing of how they implement every single character that has come out throughout the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe up until now, how they always give at least a little bit of a spotlight to everyone, and it doesn't feel forced. It's very fluid. I can't wait to see what comes next. Obviously, it's gonna be Spider-Man Away From Home, but besides that, I think it's one of those movies that I think is worth rewatching in theaters if you can, And I mean, for me personally, probably owning two, just because of what it means as a movie. Assuming it's not on Disney's streaming service that comes out later this year. Yeah.
See.
Yeah, we'll see. That's our thoughts on the movie. Let us know what you thought as well. If there's anything you like about the movie, if there's something you didn't like, we're actually very curious to know what it is.
Tell you you're wrong.
Let us know, and thanks for watching.